It started as a routine medical check, then his heartbeat spiked for her emergency protocol. The emergency call captain Marcus Kane was halfway through his morning coffee when the emergency klaxon shattered the peaceful routine aboard the deep, space medical frigate Asclepius. His weathered hands, steady from years commanding rescue operations in the Outer Rim, immediately set down the mug as the ship's AI announced the crisis. Priority medical emergency detected. Alien vessel in distress, Sector 77 Alpha. Life signs critical. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as his crew sprang into action. Marcus had seen plenty of emergencies during his 15 years as captain of humanity's most advanced medical vessel, but something about this call felt different. The readings on their long-range sensors showed a ship unlike anything in their databases. The unknown patient, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, rushed to the medical bay, her auburn hair pulled back in the efficient ponytail she always wore during emergencies. As the ship's chief medical officer, she had treated dozens of alien species, but the biosignatures coming from the distressed vessel were completely foreign. Her medical scanner showed vital signs that fluctuated in patterns she had never encountered. "Captain, we're dealing with an unknown species," she reported over the comm. "Their physiology is unlike anything we've studied. Heart rate is erratic, neural activity is spiking dangerously." The alien ship was sleek and crystalline, its surface reflecting the stars like living glass. As the Asclepius drew closer, Marcus could see the vessel was beautiful but clearly damaged. Scorch marks along its hull suggested some kind of energy, weapon attack. First contact. Protocol Lieutenant Commander Tom Rodriguez, the ship's communications officer, worked frantically to establish contact. His dark eyes focused intently on the translation matrix as alien symbols flashed across his screen. After several tense minutes, a weak signal came through. "Please. Help. Dying." The voice was melodic despite its weakness, with an otherworldly quality that made everyone on the bridge pause. "We're medical personnel," Rodriguez transmitted back. "We want to help. Can you dock with our ship?" The response came in broken phrases, but the desperation was clear. The alien pilot was losing consciousness, and their ship's life support was failing. The docking chief engineer, Lisa Park, coordinated the delicate docking procedure. Her expert hands guided the mechanical arms that would connect the two vessels. The alien ship's technology was so advanced that their own system seemed primitive in comparison, but human adaptability and ingenuity made the connection possible. "Docking complete," Park announced. "But Captain, their ship's atmosphere is completely different from ours. We'll need full environmental suits." Dr. Walsh was already suiting up, her medical bag modified for zero-G operations. She had studied xenobiology extensively, but theoretical knowledge was about to meet reality in the most critical way possible. The rescue. The airlock cycled open, revealing a corridor that seemed to be carved from living crystal. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed weakly along the walls, clearly a sign of the ship's failing systems. Walsh and her medical team moved carefully through the alien vessel, following the life sign readings on their scanners. They found the pilot in what appeared to be a command chamber, suspended in a translucent pod filled with shimmering liquid. The being inside was humanoid but clearly not human, tall and elegant, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow faintly from within. Most striking were the intricate silver patterns that traced across their visible skin like living tattoos. "Get them to our medical bay immediately," Walsh ordered. Her team carefully extracted the unconscious alien from their life support pod, noting how their bodies seemed to respond to human touch with subtle changes in the silver patterns. Critical. Conditioned back aboard the Asclepius, the medical bay hummed with activity. The alien's vital signs were stabilizing slightly in their controlled environment, but Dr. Walsh could see they were still in critical condition. The being's physiology was unlike anything she had studied. Their circulatory system seemed to pulse with energy rather than just blood, and their neural activity created patterns that resembled complex mathematical equations. Whatever attacked them, it disrupted their entire biological system, she reported to Captain Kane. "I've never seen anything like this. It's as if their body functions on both biological and energy-based principles. The alien stirred slightly, their large, pearl-colored eyes fluttering open for just a moment before closing again. In that brief instant, Walsh felt something she couldn't explain, a connection that seemed to bypass all language and cultural barriers. The rescue was complete, but the real challenge was just beginning. The awakening consciousness returns. 3 days after the rescue, the alien patient finally regained full consciousness. Dr. Walsh was running her morning diagnostics when those pearl-colored eyes opened and focused on her with startling clarity. The silver patterns on the being's skin began to glow more brightly, creating an almost hypnotic display. "Where am I?" The voice was clearer now, the universal translator having had time to analyze the alien's language patterns. The tone was unmistakably feminine, with a musical quality that seemed to resonate in the medical bay's equipment. "You're safe," Walsh replied gently, setting down her medical scanner. "You're aboard a human medical ship. We rescued you from your damaged vessel. I'm Dr. Jennifer Walsh." The alien tried to sit up, then winced as pain clearly shot through her. "System." The silver patterns on her skin flickered erratically, and Walsh's monitors showed corresponding spikes in what she had determined were the equivalent of vital signs. Learning about each other. "I am Zara Nix of the Luminary Collective," the alien said, her voice growing stronger. "My people, do they know I survived?" Walsh checked her readings again. "We've been trying to contact other ships of your species, but we haven't detected any in this sector. What happened to you?" Zara Nix's expression darkened, and the silver patterns on her skin dimmed noticeably. "Raiders attacked our research vessel. They wanted our energy core technology. I was the only one who escaped, but my ship was badly damaged." The doctor made notes on her tablet, fascinated by how the alien's emotions seemed to directly affect her physical appearance. Human emotions were internal and often hidden, but luminary feelings were literally written on their skin. Biological mysteries. Over the following days, Walsh found herself spending more time with Zara Nix than medical protocol strictly required. The luminary's physiology was endlessly fascinating. Her body seemed to exist in a delicate balance between organic tissue and pure energy. Her heart equivalent pumped both circulatory fluid and what could only be described as liquid light. "Your healing techniques are remarkably effective," Zara Nix observed, watching Walsh work. "Though very different from our methods, luminary medicine works with energy flows and harmonic frequencies." "Show me," Walsh said impulsively, then caught herself. "I mean, if you're feeling strong enough. I'd love to learn about your medical knowledge." Zara Nix smiled, the first genuine expression of joy Walsh had seen from her. The silver patterns on her skin brightened to an almost golden hue. "Place your hand here," she said, indicating a spot on her forearm. The connection when Walsh's hand made contact with Zara Nix's skin, something extraordinary happened. She could suddenly sense the luminary's energy patterns, feel the rhythm of her dual circulatory systems. It was like having access to medical readings more detailed than any scanner could provide. "This is incredible," Walsh breathed. "I can feel your cellular regeneration rate, your neural activity levels. Is this how your people practice medicine?" "Among other things," Zara Nix replied, her voice softer now. "Physical contact allows us to share not just medical information, but emotional states as well. It's how we form deep connections with others." Walsh realized she could indeed sense Zara Nix's emotions: gratitude, loneliness, and something else she couldn't quite identify. More surprisingly, she sensed that Zara Nix was reading her emotions in return. Growing trust as days passed, their sessions became less clinical and more personal. Walsh found herself looking forward to their time together, drawn by Zara Nix's intelligence and the unique perspective she offered on medicine and life. "Your species is remarkable," Zara Nix said during one of their conversations. "Most races we've encountered are either purely technological or purely biological in their approach to medicine. Humans seem to balance both instinctively. We're good at adapting, Walsh replied with a smile. It's probably our best survival trait. The silver patterns on Zara Nix's skin swirled, and what Walsh had learned indicated amusement. Indeed, you rescued me using technology, treated me with medical knowledge, but healed me through compassion. That combination is rare in the galaxy. Unexpected feelings. Captain Kane noticed the change in his chief medical officer's behavior during their weekly briefings. Walsh had always been dedicated to her patients, but her attention to the luminary went beyond professional interest. How is our guest doing? He asked during one such meeting. Zara Nix is recovering well, Walsh replied. Her energy systems are stabilizing, and she's been sharing information about luminary medical techniques. The knowledge exchange has been enlightening. Kane raised an eyebrow at the slight hesitation in his officer's voice. Anything I should be concerned about, Doctor? Walsh considered the question carefully. Her growing feelings for Zara Nix were complicated by the fact that they were from different species, different worlds, yet the connection she felt was unlike anything she had experienced with another human. No, Captain. Everything is proceeding according to protocol. But even as she said it, Walsh knew that what was developing between her and Zara Nix was anything but protocol. The touch-based empathy of the luminary had created a bond that transcended species barriers, and she found herself caring about Zara Nix in ways that had nothing to do with medicine. The healing process. By the end of the second week, Zara Nix was strong enough to walk around the medical bay. Her silver patterns had returned to their full brightness, creating fascinating displays as her emotions shifted. Walsh had become adept at reading these patterns, understanding when the luminary was tired, curious, or content. Your presence has been essential to my recovery, Zara Nix said one evening as they reviewed her latest medical scans. I don't think I would have healed as quickly without the emotional support you've provided. It's been my pleasure, Walsh replied honestly. I've learned as much from you as you have from me. The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken feelings and the recognition that their time together was bringing them closer to something neither had expected when this medical emergency began. Part 3. Understanding, Hearts Deepening. Connection. 3 weeks into Zara Nix's recovery, Dr. Walsh found herself staying later in the medical bay each evening. What had begun as extended monitoring sessions had evolved into long conversations about their respective worlds, cultures, and dreams. The luminary's ship had been repaired enough to be functional, but she showed no urgency to leave. Tell me about Earth, Zara Nix requested one evening, her silver patterns creating gentle waves across her skin. She was sitting up in the medical bed, looking healthier than she had since arriving. Her pearl-colored eyes reflected the soft lighting of the medical bay, giving them an almost luminous quality. Walsh pulled up holographic images on her tablet, showing scenes from her home planet. It's very different from what I imagine your world is like. We have vast oceans, diverse climates, and billions of people living in countless different ways. So much variety, Zara Nix mused, studying the images. The luminary homeworld is more uniform. Crystal cities that grow from the ground itself, powered by harmonic energy. Beautiful, but perhaps lacking in the diversity that seems to drive human innovation. Cultural exchange. Their conversations had become a bridge between two very different civilizations. Walsh learned that luminary society was built around energy, harmony, and collective consciousness while maintaining individual identity. Zara Nix was fascinated by human individualism and the way it led to both conflict and remarkable creativity. Your people's medical advances are impressive, Zara Nix observed, watching Walsh work with her various instruments. But what truly amazes me is how you treat patients as complete beings, addressing not just physical symptoms but emotional and psychological needs as well. We learned long ago that healing involves more than just fixing what's broken, Walsh replied. The mind and heart affect the body in ways we're still discovering. Zara Nix's patterns brightened with understanding. This is why your touch has been so healing for me. You don't just treat my injuries. You see me as a complete being. Professional boundaries. Captain Kane had been observing the situation with growing concern. During his regular check-ins, he noticed the way his chief medical officer's entire demeanor changed when discussing their alien guest. There was a warmth in Walsh's voice, and a light in her eyes that spoke of feelings beyond professional interest. "Doctor, I need to ask you directly," Kane said during a private meeting in his ready room. "Are you developing personal feelings for our guest?" Walsh considered lying, but her respect for her captain made deception impossible. Yes, sir, but it hasn't affected my medical judgment or her care." Kane leaned back in his chair, studying his officer carefully. "Jennifer, you're one of the finest doctors I've ever served with, but this situation is unprecedented. Interspecies relationships are complicated enough without the added complexity of first contact protocols. I understand the complications, Captain, but what we both feel, it's real." The heart monitor incident, the truth of Walsh's words became evident the next day during a routine examination. As she attached monitoring sensors to Zara Nix's chest, the luminary's unique physiology caused an unexpected reaction. The moment Walsh's fingers made contact with Zara Nix's skin, both of their vital signs spiked dramatically. The medical bay's alarms began sounding as the computers interpreted the readings as cardiac distress. Walsh quickly shut off the alarms, but not before several crew members had rushed in to check on the emergency. "False alarm," she announced, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "Just a calibration error with the equipment." After the others left, Zara Nix looked at her with amusement. "Your heart rate increased significantly when you touched me," she observed. "Among my people, synchronized cardiac responses indicate deep emotional bonding." "What does that mean exactly?" Walsh asked, though she suspected she already knew. "It means our feelings are mutual, and they're becoming physiologically integrated." Scientific fascination. Despite the personal implications, Walsh couldn't help but be fascinated by the medical aspects of what was happening. She began running discrete scans on both herself and Zara Nix, documenting the unprecedented biological responses occurring between their species. "Look at this," she said excitedly, showing Zara Nix the data on her tablet. "When we're in physical contact, your energy patterns seem to synchronize with my neural activity. It's as if our bodies are learning to communicate on a cellular level." Zara Nix studied the readings with equal interest. "This confirms what I've been sensing. Luminary bonding typically occurs only with our own species, but your physiology seems remarkably adaptable." "Humans are good at adaptation," Walsh said with a smile. "We've had to be to survive and spread across the galaxy." Emotional resonance. The more time they spent together, the stronger their connection became. Walsh found that she could sense Zara Nix's emotional state even when they weren't touching, and the luminary reported similar experiences. Their conversations became deeper, more intimate, touching on hopes, fears, and dreams they had never shared with others. "I was supposed to be studying ancient energy patterns when the raiders attacked," Zara Nix confided one evening. "My research was focused on how different forms of consciousness could merge while maintaining individual identity. Ironic, considering what's happening between us." "Maybe it's not ironic," Walsh suggested. "Maybe it's exactly what you were meant to discover." The silver patterns on Zara Nix's skin created a complex mandala of light as she considered this possibility. "You think our meeting was somehow destined?" "I think the universe has a way of bringing together what needs to be together," Walsh replied, "whether that's through medical emergencies, scientific research, or just plain luck." Growing complications as their bond deepened, both women began to realize that their feelings were leading them into uncharted territory. Interspecies relations were rare enough in the galaxy, but a relationship between a human doctor and a luminary researcher would face challenges neither could fully anticipate. "My people will want me to return home eventually," Zara Nix said quietly during one of their evening conversations. "The collective doesn't forbid relationships with other species, but they're extremely rare. And Starfleet Medical has protocols about professional boundaries," Walsh admitted, "not to mention the complications of a relationship between species with such different biological needs." Despite these concerns, neither could deny the depth of what they felt for each other. Their connection had grown beyond simple attraction or even love. It had become something that seemed to exist on multiple levels simultaneously: emotional, intellectual, and increasingly, biological. The question was no longer whether they cared for each other, but whether their feelings could overcome the vast differences between their worlds and their species. Critical decision. The message from home. Everything changed when a luminary scout ship appeared at the edge of the system. Captain Kane received the transmission first, a formal request for the return of researcher Zara Nix, along with gratitude for her rescue and medical care. The message was polite but firm. The collective needed their researcher back immediately. Walsh was in the middle of her daily examination when Kane called her to the bridge. As she reviewed the translation of the luminary message, her heart sank. The formal language made it clear that this wasn't a request, it was an expectation. "They're offering to compensate us for medical expenses and ship repairs," Kane explained. "But they want Zara Nix aboard their vessel within the next 48 hours. "What did you tell them?" Walsh asked, trying to keep her voice professional, despite the turmoil she felt. "I told them she was still recovering and that we needed time to complete her treatment. It bought us 2 days. But doctor, we can't hold a member of another species against their will, even if she wanted to stay." Difficult choices. When Walsh returned to the medical bay, she found Zara Nix staring out the viewport at the distant luminary ship. The silver patterns on her skin were dim and moved sluggishly, indicating distress. "You've heard," Zara Nix said without turning around. "Yes. What do you want to do?" Zara Nix finally faced her, and Walsh could see the internal struggle reflected in her expressive features. "My duty is to my research, to my people, but my heart—" She paused, placing her hand over the area where her dual circulation system generated the energy that kept her alive. "My heart has found something here that I never expected to find anywhere." Walsh moved closer, taking Zara Nix's hands in her own. The familiar surge of synchronized energy passed between them, stronger now than ever before. "There has to be a way. We could request asylum, or diplomatic immunity, or—" "Jennifer," Zara Nix interrupted gently. "I can't hide behind technicalities. If I refuse to return, it would create a diplomatic incident between our species. Your career, your captain's career, possibly even relations between humans and Luminari could be affected." The proposition that evening, as they sat together in the medical bay's small consultation room, Zara Nix made an unexpected suggestion. "Come with me," she said suddenly. "To the Luminari homeworld. You could continue your medical research there, study our healing techniques, contribute to both our species' knowledge." Walsh stared at her in surprise. "Leave Starfleet? Leave everything I've known?" "I know it's a lot to ask," Zara Nix said quickly. "But you've said yourself that you've learned more about medicine in these past few weeks than in years of traditional study. Think of what you could discover, what we could discover together." The offer was tempting, but Walsh understood the implications. "I'd be giving up my entire life, my career, my world. And I understand if that's too much to sacrifice," Zara Nix replied, though the dimming of her patterns revealed her disappointment. "But I had to ask. What we have, it's worth fighting for." Captain's Council. The next morning, Walsh requested a private meeting with Captain Kane. She found him in his ready room, reviewing diplomatic protocols for interspecies situations. "Sir, I need to discuss a personal matter that could affect my service record." Kane gestured for her to sit. "This is about Zara Nix's offer, isn't it?" Walsh looked surprised. "How did you—" "Luminari communications protocols aren't exactly classified," Kane said with a slight smile. Their formal request included a proposal for extended cultural exchange, specifically mentioning the possibility of human medical personnel joining their research programs. "What's your advice, Captain?" Kane was quiet for a long moment, studying his chief medical officer. "Jennifer, in 15 years of command, I've learned that some opportunities only come once. I've also learned that the best officers are often the ones who follow their hearts as much as their heads. But my duty to Starfleet, Your duty to Starfleet is to advance human knowledge and foster peaceful relations with other species, Kane interrupted. If you choose to go, you'd be doing both. The medical breakthrough is, if the universe was conspiring to make the decision more complicated, Walsh made a significant discovery while reviewing her accumulated data on Zara Nix's physiology. The healing techniques they had developed together, combining human medical technology with luminary energy manipulation, had produced results that could revolutionize medicine for both species. Look at this, she told Zara Nix excitedly, displaying her findings on the medical bay's main screen. The cellular regeneration rates we achieved by combining our methods are unprecedented. This could change how we treat genetic disorders, neural damage, even aging itself. Zara Nix studied the data with growing amazement. These results, they would be invaluable to my people. Many of our researchers have theorized about such techniques, but we've never had the opportunity to test them. This research could justify extended collaboration between our species, Walsh realized. It's not just about personal feelings anymore. It's about scientific advancement that could benefit billions of beings. The choice, with less than 12 hours remaining before the luminary ship's departure deadline, Walsh stood at the crossroads of two very different futures. She could remain with Starfleet, continue her comfortable and successful career, and always wonder what might have been. Or she could take the greatest risk of her life and follow her heart into the unknown. Zara Nix had made it clear that the choice was entirely Walsh's to make. Whatever you decide, I will understand, she had said, but know that you have changed my life in ways I never thought possible. As Walsh stood in her quarters that night, looking at her Starfleet commendations and the personal mementos from her years of service, she realized that the decision had already been made. It had been made the moment she first touched Zara Nix's hand and felt that incredible connection between their souls. Her heart had been trying to tell her something from the very beginning, and she was finally ready to listen. The next morning, she would inform Captain Kane of her decision and begin the most extraordinary chapter of her life. New Horizons. The departure Captain Kane stood in the shuttle bay as Dr. Walsh made her final preparations for departure. Her personal belongings had been packed into a single medical transport case, along with copies of all her research data and a formal letter of introduction from Starfleet Command to the Luminary Collective. I still can't quite believe you're doing this, Kane said, watching as Walsh secured her equipment. Neither can I, she admitted with a nervous laugh. But sometimes the biggest risks lead to the greatest discoveries. Zara Nix approached them, her silver patterns bright with excitement and anticipation. She had changed from the medical gown she'd worn during her recovery into a flowing garment that seemed to be woven from captured starlight. The transformation from patient to dignified researcher was remarkable. Captain Kane, Zara Nix said formally, I want you to know that your crew's actions have created a bond between our species that will endure for generations. Dr. Walsh's decision to join our research initiative is just the beginning. The transfer of the luminary ship Resonance of Stars was unlike anything Walsh had ever seen. Its crystalline hull seemed to grow rather than being constructed, creating organic curves and flowing lines that were both beautiful and functionally perfect. As their shuttle approached the docking bay, she could see that the entire vessel pulsed gently with inner light. My people build our ships to be extensions of ourselves, Zara Nix explained, noticing Walsh's fascination. The hull material is actually a living crystal that responds to our energy patterns. It will learn to recognize you as well, in time. Walking through the ship's corridors was like moving through a living organism. The walls hummed softly with harmonic frequencies, and bioluminescent patterns provided gentle illumination that seemed to anticipate their path. Other Luminary crew members they encountered greeted Zara Nix warmly and regarded Walsh with curious but friendly interest. Meeting the collective representatives, Commander Thrix Vell, the ship's senior officer, was waiting for them in what Walsh assumed was the equivalent of a ready room. Like all Luminary, Thrix Vell was tall and elegant, but her silver patterns were more complex and moved with the confidence of authority. Dr. Walsh, she said, her voice carrying the same musical quality as Zara Nix's, your reputation precedes you. Our preliminary analysis of the joint research you and researcher Zara Nix conducted shows remarkable promise. Thank you, Commander. I'm honored to have this opportunity. Thrixvel's patterns shifted to what Walsh was learning indicated approval. The collective is particularly interested in your species' adaptability. The way you've learned to work with our energy-based healing techniques suggests possibilities we never considered. First impressions of luminary medicine. The ship's medical facility was a revelation. Instead of the sterile metal and plastic of human medical bays, the luminary healing center was a space of flowing curves and responsive surfaces. Medical equipment seemed to emerge from the walls when needed, then disappear seamlessly when not in use. Our medical philosophy is based on harmony and flow, explained healer Nix Andra, the ship's chief medical officer. We believe that illness is often a disruption in natural energy patterns. By restoring proper flow, the body heals itself. Walsh watched in fascination as Nix Andra demonstrated techniques that combined what appeared to be advanced biotechnology with something that looked almost like art. Energy patterns were visualized, manipulated, and guided through the patient's system in ways that made human medicine seem crude by comparison. I have so much to learn, Walsh murmured. And much to teach, Zara Nix added, placing a comforting hand on Walsh's shoulder. Your mechanical precision and our energy manipulation could create healing techniques neither species could achieve alone. Personal moments that night in the quarters that had been prepared for her, Walsh found herself overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she had chosen. The room was beautiful, with walls that could become transparent to show the stars rushing past. But it was utterly alien and far from everything familiar. Zara Nix found her sitting by the viewport, looking out at the unfamiliar constellations. Second, thoughts? She asked gently. More like 100 thoughts all at once, Walsh admitted. This is so far beyond anything I ever imagined for my life. Zara Nix sat beside her, close enough that their energy fields began to synchronize automatically. When I was young, I used to dream about exploring the galaxy, making discoveries that would change everything. But I always imagined doing it alone. Finding you, it's changed what discovery means to me. The journey forward. The days passed during their journey to the Luminari homeworld. Walsh began to find her place among the crew. Her human perspective provided insights that the Luminari found valuable, while their advanced understanding of energy medicine opened up possibilities she had never considered. Working with Zara Nix felt natural, as if they had been research partners for years rather than weeks. Their different approaches to problems created a synergy that consistently produced unexpected solutions. You know, Walsh said one morning as they reviewed their latest experimental results, I think we're creating something entirely new here. Not human medicine or luminary healing, but something that combines the best of both. A hybrid approach for a hybrid relationship, Zara Nix agreed with a smile. Looking to the stars their last evening aboard the Resonance of Stars before reaching the Luminari homeworld, Walsh and Zara Nix stood together in the ship's observation deck. The crystalline walls had been made transparent, creating the illusion that they were floating among the stars themselves. Are you ready for this? Zara Nix asked. Walsh took her hand, feeling the familiar surge of connection between them. I'm ready for whatever comes next as long as we face it together. The silver patterns on Zara Nix's skin created a complex mandala of joy and love. Together, she agreed. As they watched the stars wheel past, both women knew they were not just traveling to a new world, but toward a future that would reshape the possibilities for both their species. Their love had begun with a medical emergency, but it was evolving into something that could bridge the gap between civilizations. The greatest adventure of their lives was just beginning.